You know that it's a time. These are the
The best
best
days
days of
of
our
our
lives.
lives.
Just raise
Your
your glasses
glasses high.
high. This one's for you
Oh. We should be wearing
tonight.
black, Brandon, to mourn the death of an era.
We really should.
I mean, it's not
Um,
much to mourn. I feel like people are 50-50. Like, oh, it's over? Great. Oh, it's over? Damn.
Yes, some people are like, it should have been over, but then there's others who it's like, damn, that's kind of sad. Because the thing is, okay, y'all, so Vanderpump Rules, they're getting rid of the whole OG cast and
Hmm.
rebooting it with a new cast. And I think that's where the hurt comes. It's like the show still is going on,
Hmm.
but they're using completely different people now. And I don't think it's going to be good.
Really?
Yeah, because like the thing about Vanderpump Rules, the magic that was them was they like knew each other for like years beforehand. And
Hmm.
so then it was just like this dysfunctional natural friend group. So that's why
Yeah.
when Sandoval did what he did, it like broke it. Like he was like Sora or whatever his name is, Kingdom Hearts. He took the Keyblade and he put it in the earth and it
Not a
cracked
Kingdom Hearts
and
reference.
it created different worlds. And this
So
one just couldn't exist.
I get what you're saying, but how do we know that the people who are coming are like, connected and whatever you just said? Because I think what they're gonna do is go back to Sir,
Hmm.
find people who work at Sir. We don't know who they are and their relationships with each other, so it might be fine.
This is an optimistic take. I
I'm just saying, you
hope
don't know they're strangers.
this is true. You know what? Maybe they could surprise us.
Yeah. And the other thing I was gonna say was like, oh, but Vanderpump Rules already has like an air to it, so maybe these people will be like acting. But from jump, all of the current cast of Vanderpump Rules was on their A game to put on a show for America. So
That
I think it'll be
part.
fine.
Yeah, and then like some people were pointing out on different podcasts, they were like, people joining reality shows now, it's not as like unfiltered or whatever. Like there's always like worry or like self-editing because of social
Yeah.
media
Yeah.
and you're going on for an angle, which is
Hmm.
fine. It's like the new cast of Real Housewives of New York. It's
Hmm.
just like they always feel like they're holding back and
Mm.
they're not like funny either. So it's just not a good show.
Yeah.
So people like don't like it. So I fear maybe it won't be like that. But then
Yeah.
people are comparing it to this other show. It could be like Southern Hospitality, which was this spinoff of Southern Charm, where it
Hmm.
was like South Carolina and like someone from Southern Charm, Leva, owned a bar or like a
Hmm.
club, and then it's about them that work there. But I tried watching it, it's not good. And it doesn't get good
Yeah.
ratings. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, you said the Valley did well.
It did,
So is it
but
when it's brand new, it does well?
maybe. But with the Valley, though, it had Jax, Brittany, and Kristen, and they were from Vanderpump Rules.
So that made you kind of, but didn't you tell me that certain people are gonna come from the OG cast and still be on the new Vanderpump?
They're going to be on the Valley. Sadly,
Oh,
Sheena, Lala, and Schwartz will be featured on the new season of the Valley.
okay.
So, like, probably as like a friend or guest starring, which
Yeah.
we had known that, but now it's like more confirmed. I don't know.
What was the reason for this?
Well, they didn't really give
Was
one.
it, I thought people said like scheduling and,
There had been rumors about salaries. Like, I
mm,
know there was one rumor that Lala and Ariana were still in negotiations for their salaries.
mhm,
I think they wanted a lot of money because the show was bringing in a lot of ratings and was like Emmy nominated, bigger than
mhm.
ever. And I think also it wasn't going to work because none of them are friends anymore. So the route Alex Baskin, the EP, was trying to take was this is a group of friends, and that's how it will always be. And people were
Yeah.
like, no, like they're not friends anymore. Like
Mm-mm.
it's not gonna work. Like it's fine. I think it would have been fine to film them all, but don't try to make it seem like they're
They're
friends.
friends, right?
Like
And
capture the actual thing that's happening. That could be interesting.
right. And I didn't think the expectation was, I didn't realize the expectation was for them to be friends. Because, like, this is reminding me of how Lala at the end of the season was bugging out because Ariana didn't want to film with
Mm-hmm.
Sandoval. And it's like, why does it matter so much? So maybe they were
Mm-hmm.
really emphasizing the friendship thing, but
That's why they were trying to do the whole like, oh, bring Sandoval back, forgive him, do this, be his friend.
have a one-on-one with him. He'll say he's sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't necessary. The audience didn't want it. So
It
I don't know.
wasn't.
I don't really get that.
It was a weird angle from the producers to try to
Yeah.
push that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like actually capture what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
But, they fumbled the bag with that one. And now the OGs are no more. But, Katie still has her podcast. I don't really listen to it, but people listen. So that's good.
Oh, okay.
Lala
Don't they
has
all have podcasts?
basically. Now that you mention it, I think they all do. You can catch Ariana tomorrow on Thanksgiving at the Thanksgiving parade.
Oh, she's gonna be
Macy's.
singing.
She's performing a number. So that
Mm.
should be fun. She's also going to be an episode of Will Trent. She'll probably host Love Island again. I feel
An
like she'll be
episode of
fine.
Will Trent.
Yeah, it's some like ABC show based off a book. Apparently, people know what it
Oh,
is.
I've
I
never heard of that.
I was like, oh, okay, but good for her.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like she'll be good. I feel like most of them will be fine. I
Yeah.
mainly just worry, or not worry, but wonder about the Toms.
Yeah.
Because they Shorts and Sandy's just closed,
It did. It did.
which never got a chance to go, but never really wanted to either.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because a lot of so since it closed, a lot of clips have been resurfacing of Katie having a conversation with Schwartz, basically like the business took over their
Oh
relationship.
yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out how that's possible. Like, how do you like was he just there all the time and only focused on that and never spending time with her and never, you know?
I think basically, like, I guess it was a struggle to like do it, and he really just like didn't prioritize her.
Also, don't they do oh, they own it though, right?
Yeah, it's like theirs.
It's theirs. It's Tom's and both Tom's. It
Yeah.
belongs to both of them. Okay. So that's
So
interesting.
it is. And I mean, Katie and Tom should have never been together, but that was the final nail in the coffin for Katie. So,
Yeah.
and now it closed. It hasn't been open like a few years, maybe.
It hasn't been open for years?
Well, it's been open. It's only been open for like a few years.
Oh, right. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
think more than five or
I would
maybe just
say
five.
less than five because
Yeah.
pandemic, they were still working on it.
Hmm.
I think it opened 2022 or 2023. I think it's only been like 2 years, maybe.
Mm. Yeah, I heard people discussing like, oh, it's the area. Oh, it's because they didn't get to market it on the show and like just a
Oh
bunch of other
yeah,
stuff.
Sandoval's
People have been
girlfriend commented that.
yeah.
I'm so sorry that I tried to get this sign, but they wouldn't let me and it wasn't able to do this or that. And I'm like, no, fam. What happened was it was overpriced, not that good. And on top of that, Sandoval sucks and like blew
Yeah.
it all up. So like, what do you mean?
Yeah, because people I've heard well, I don't know how many people think this, but I've heard people say like, "Oh, well, I kind of just felt like I was supporting him by going and I didn't want to support him." And it doesn't
Hmm.
help that dude wasn't apologetic at all.
That part, it doesn't help that he completely mishandled everything after
Yeah,
the
he just
scandal.
doubled down on all of his behavior, which is so bizarre to me. But hey, at least he's true to himself.
I mean, that's yes, there is that.
At least that's the one thing you could know about Tom is he's not gonna sugarcoat any he's gonna be himself. And
For better or for worse.
for better or for worse. So
But
that's interesting. Yeah, the end of an era.
it is
Era. The end of an
error.
era.
The end of a giant
Um,
error.
But hey, y'all,
Oh,
welcome to
yes.
the shade of it all.
Hello. I'm Brandon.
I'm Magdala. We friends.
Sometimes. Ooh, no, we're always.
Brendan and I have been hanging out a lot lately because we're neighbors now.
We have. We spent the
It's
whole day
amazing.
together working,
Basically.
and we're gonna spend more.
We are. We're getting ready to watch Wicked, and
Hmm.
I'm slowly becoming obsessed. It's great. I'm fine. I'm content with this obsession. Every time I see now Cynthia Erivo, I just want to be like, what are you doing? What are you thinking about? What's on your mind? I think it's so funny because a lot of people have been like joking about how they're always crying.
Oh yeah.
But then, and so I started listening to some fun interviews because I didn't want to like see what they were crying about. So I listened to like this lie detector one and then another one when they were playing like a game. And so listened to fun ones, but there weren't a lot of those. So I listened to one that was like a little deeper and I started crying. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, I can't talk now
I can't do
because
this.
I can't do this. I get it. I get why they're so emotional and stuff. Brandon, can you imagine working on a project for like 4 years and it's almost like a breakout project for both of them? So it's a pretty
Hmm.
big deal.
No, it is. It's just I get it, but it's just funny how it's like every interview, and even like today we were watching one, and it was with Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth as well. They were like all
Hmm.
talking, and I think the clip started like in the middle of it or something, and it's just like Kristen and Idina are talking, and you just see Cynthia with a tissue, just like drying her eyes, and we're like, what is she crying about?
Yeah.
It
But
was
I mean, yeah, I guess just to both of them it means so much and it makes sense, man. Movies are not, and they've already started creating the second one. So they've
oh, they
been
finished it.
Oh, so they made two movies over the course
Hmm.
of probably 3 to 4 years.
Yeah,
That's a lot of time to dedicate to something, and like characters that you believe in and a project that you believe in. It is different though. Typically, we don't see so many tears on a press tour for like a
typically,
movie,
but
but
you
it
know.
means a lot to them. And if you listen instead of judge Brandon, you might understand why.
I'm not judging. I support them. I want to see the movie, and I think they're very talented. And I've seen a lot of clips like from Defying Gravity or whatever, and I can see why they get so emotional. They got very into the character.
They did. They
So
really
I'm here
did.
for it.
The story's pretty deep too, I hear. Brandon says I can't do it. I'm gonna try to read the Wicked book before the movie, but I don't know if I don't. I'm on the fence. I want to mostly because Brandon said I couldn't. I also want to because with musicals, there's not gonna be captions on in the theater. I want to know what's happening and like what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Like I want to know
Hmm.
the plot. I don't want to miss anything. And sometimes with musicals, because everything is sung, you don't always understand what they're saying. Like I watched Hamilton a couple times before, and then before I watched it by myself, had captions on, and I was like, oh, I get it. That's a little different though, because they're rapping and so it's quick, but still, I feel like I want to know what's happening when I watch it. But then I was like, what if I'm just pleasantly surprised? So I'm on the fence, but I mostly want to do it because Brandon says I can't.
Well, because you can't. It not.
Yes, I can.
You have 2 days.
To watch, to read a whole book, yeah.
You're literally
And
going home tomorrow, so
two
you're gonna have a
days,
long drive, and then you'll be coming back Friday. I'm sure you'll have other things you need to do.
you're not wrong. But since I have the day off, I don't know, I just feel like I could read it really fast.
Okay, hey, prove me wrong.
Let's see if I can download it. And we're going Saturday night. If I like
True.
hunker down and put my head down, I might be able to read this book. Thankfully, this year for Thanksgiving, a bunch of families coming, so I don't have to help because all my aunts are gonna be helping my mom.
Oh, that's nice.
Um, well, hopefully I don't. We'll see. I haven't been given an assignment yet, so maybe I can just relax, kick up my feet, read a book.
Maybe. Look, I'm all for being proven wrong. It doesn't happen often, but I'm here for it.
We'll
So if
see.
you
Stay
can, you
tuned.
can.
Stay
But
tuned.
I think you'll be fine if you don't. Like, I don't think it's like because it's a musical, but I don't think it's all singing.
Yeah. Well, we Brendan and I tried to listen to the soundtrack while we were working today, and I was like, I don't know what she's saying. I don't. Her voice sounds great, but I don't know what she's saying. And then I was like, okay, I'll just sit down and read all the lyrics. I'm like, fuck it, might as well just read a book. At that point, at that
A
point,
big jump, but I appreciate it. I
we'll see.
believe
I'm
in
gonna
you.
try.
Okay.
The wizard and
No one
I'm
mourns the wicked. Um, but yeah, that should be
excited.
exciting. I can't wait to see it Saturday.
It's gonna be fun.
I had went to a podcast show this past weekend at the Seminole Hard Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It was for Giggly Squad, and it was good. It
Did
was
you
good.
giggle?
I
Did
did
you
giggle
giggle,
at
Brandon?
times. It was funny. They have some funny I love
What
the
did they do?
podcast Giggly Squad. It's like Paige and Hannah. They just like talk about things. They talk about pop culture. They have segments where they'll like pick each other's least favorite and favorite looks. They have a live audience questions. They have the segment Is He Trash where they'll bring a guy on stage and like ask him questions and kind of roast him.
That's funny.
And that part was really funny this time. It was like this guy who I think is like a roofer or
Uh-huh.
something. And he had like a ponytail and like jeans and stuff. And he was a little old. He was like 50 something.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, how are you going to get on stage? Because the stairs were on the other side. And he just like hopped it. And that was funny. And Hannah was like, oh my God. And then he like sat down and he looked at Paige and was like, hello. And she was just like, don't look me in the eye. And that was funny. That made me and Gia chuckle. And there was
That
quite a
is
few times
funny.
that did. I think just the thing was, I listen to their podcast every week. So some of the stories I have heard before because they've said it on
Oh,
the
what? They didn't
podcast.
do original things for a live
They
show?
did some, but there was a couple that weren't. And I was like, oh, well, I heard that. And then
Mm.
also, I think because they had done a show in Miami this weekend, and I think maybe Orlando or somewhere else. They had done two other shows, maybe four, or at least two other shows prior, because we
Mm.
went Sunday night. So I think they were just tired. They've been doing a lot of shows, and I get it. Um,
I don't.
oh, well, Maggie, when we have our live shows,
Yeah, our live
maybe
show
you'll
better be
understand.
fire. I wouldn't go live until I could provide an experience that's like unique.
It was good. It was good.
Mm-mm.
Unique,
People
I
are
don't
spending
know.
money on something. It needs to be great.
Well, you're
But
setting very high expectations for us.
well, I'm just saying, like, I don't know why. I don't know all the reasons why you feel like it wasn't great, but for you to hear stories that you've already heard on the podcast, like your podcast, you have to assume that everybody listens to everything. So why would they repeat stuff? That's a not great sign to me.
That part, yeah. I didn't think they would do that. Maybe
That's my
once.
only hang up is okay, at least do new things. If you did a bunch of new things and they didn't hit, okay, at least you tried. But
Yeah. They could get more segments, I guess, maybe instead of just repeating the stories, but you know, it is what it is. I don't think the tickets were that expensive. And I could say I went. I do like them still and the podcast a lot. So
mhm,
I'm still here for them. But the show was just kind of like, it was okay.
it was all right.
I
Okay.
chuckled.
As long as you're at peace with it.
I am at peace. And yeah.
He's still a fan. It's gonna be fine.
Still a fan. We persevere.
We persevere.
But in the meantime, should we hop to the reason for the season?
Let's do it.
Y'all,
Mormon
we're
wives.
nearing the end of our Secret Lives of Mormon Wives journey.
We
We're
only
gonna be
have one
going over
episode left.
we're gonna be going over episode 7 this time, and then we only have 8, and that's the finale.
Oh, you said there was
Um,
two earlier.
no. Did
Oh,
I?
I
What did
misheard you. I misheard you.
I mean
It's my
maybe I did?
fault.
It's my fault.
Brett is like, I
Well,
don't misspeak.
I could have. Or maybe I said we have 2 more to cover, because we do
Oh,
technically.
you did. Okay,
Because
that makes
yeah.
sense.
All right, period.
Sorry, I
Anyway,
interrupted you. What episode are we watching, Brandon?
we're watching episode or we're covering episode 7.
Perfect.
And this one was quite eventful.
Hmm.
A lot of things going on, a lot of drama. I think we're at the point where they're not being as like edited and filtered.
Yes, I agree. There was a lot of raw emotion this time. And nobody said, "Will Mom Talk survive this?"
They didn't.
Nice
Mom Talk
break.
was only mentioned, I think, when Whitney was like, I made Mom Talk what it was. And then Macy was like, I want Whitney to come back. But
No, I'm glad that Whitney wasn't in this episode. It was a lot better without her.
it was,
I
she
think we
sucks.
figured out the bad parts of the series. They even mentioned it themselves, like, huh, we're having a good time for a change.
I forgot she was a part of this.
Right.
Mm. But, we pick up where we left off last episode with Jen sobbing on the phone with Zach at Chippendales because he's ripping into
Hmm.
her for going. And he's basically saying how, like, he doesn't appreciate her character. He's
Hmm.
like, doesn't want to be married to someone like that and like all this shit. And it's like, huh?
It's
M
very extreme.
Very, mind you, he's over here like gambling away their money.
I don't want to be married with, yeah, but 20 on, yeah, okay. I don't want
20
to
on
be
red.
married.
I don't want to be married. No.
Yeah, I'm just withdrawing more money. What's your PIN number again, babe? But anyway, I don't want to be
I don't fucking
married to
respect
somebody.
you. I don't respect you. It's like, huh?
But your actions are fine. That's crazy.
It's very hypocritical,
Hypocritical.
as people will mention as the episode goes on.
Hmm.
But Jen, though, she's very much like, I haven't done anything wrong. I hate when he questions my character. And she's
Yeah.
kind of opening up to us that mom talk has been a lot for him because it put her in this position where, like, before she didn't really have a voice and wasn't really the breadwinner. And now she is the breadwinner and, like, she
Hmm.
has more of a voice and more of a say. And I think it's
Hmm.
definitely hurting his ego and disrupting those traditional Mormon
Roles.
roles and all
Hmm.
that. Which, I
Yeah.
mean, what, like,
Didn't she
shut up,
also,
Zach.
right? Didn't she also mention that the show is hard for him too?
Yes, I guess. Well, I think, yeah,
Or
mom talk and like just the show and like being a part of all that probably is. It probably, I would assume, makes him feel uncomfortable to put everything all out there
yeah.
and given things they do on the show if he deems it to be like
Yeah.
inappropriate.
The thing is, like, I feel like for Zach specifically, he has been raised, I'm assuming he's been raised very traditionally. We saw his family, right? He probably
Hmm.
saw his dad being like the person with the last word in the relationship that he saw growing up. And
Hmm.
so for him to see his wife as a contributor, as somebody who with an opinion and things like that is probably very foreign. And it's just like he just doesn't understand it. Whereas us watching, we're like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, she has an
Right.
opinion. Yeah, it matters. But for him, it's like completely foreign. But
Yeah.
I just feel like he's very childish. Like for your wife to do one thing and then for you to be like, oh, well, do you want to be a single parent? That's
It's
so
like,
extreme.
huh?
Right. And it's almost like, it's like, I don't know if they're just empty threats or if he's serious, but it's just 0 to 100. Like, you don't know how to handle conflict with your partner. You're
It's
acting like a
very,
kid.
yeah, it seems like it's definitely happened before though.
Definitely.
And so, like, I don't know. It's just fucking weird. Like, okay, but like, you believe in those traditional Mormon roles with the wife and the husband, but if you're bold enough to gamble away her hard-earned money, like, what are you can't accept anything else? Like, I don't get it. And also, like, she's
Yeah.
just going to Chippendales and watching them. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine if you don't want her to go on stage. Like, if you're a couple, you don't want them going
Mm-hmm.
on stage, maybe, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even then, there's a way to say it where it's not like, hey, do you want to have good character or do you,
Right.
what are you like?
Right. It could be a conversation about what she's doing in the moment and not extend to, okay, we have to get divorced because that's crazy. Like you can have a conversation. She didn't know she was going. She's here. It's already happened. Would you like, let's talk about what's gonna happen next. All
Yeah.
right, babe, I understand. Just don't go on stage. Or actually, I'd feel more comfortable if you left. Even if he asked her to leave and just did it respectfully, I would respect that more than what he's doing right now. I don't necessarily agree, but it's like, okay, if you have boundaries in your relationship and you're both like, no, strip clubs are off limits, then yeah, okay, she can
Right.
leave. But for you to do all of this is really crazy.
It is. But Jen, Michaela, and Taylor end up leaving. And because Michaela's husband also had an issue, but we
Yeah.
don't really get to know about it. She's just like
No.
he's mad, and then she leaves, and she doesn't seem that upset. It
Yeah.
seems like maybe he was annoyed, and she was like, "I guess I'll leave." Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But then Dakota was also freaking out because he's Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
But Demi says that this is the perfect example of the misogyny within the Mormon culture, which Demi was speaking a lot of truths this
She
episode.
was. I was like, Demi, are you a therapist?
Can you be
You're,
mine?
are you a relationship therapist? Because you're clocking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Jen's just upset that Zach doesn't trust her and she didn't want to disappoint him. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just sad
it
that she
is.
feels this way when she one did nothing. Like,
Literally, she's like in shambles and it's very sad. Like her sobbing over the phone was like the saddest thing I've ever seen.
it
I
was.
was like, damn. She's just like think of my character, think of who I am. Brandon, she barely made eye contact with those guys when they went backstage.
She was basically out of the room when they were like when they met him. She
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't be a part of this. I can't." And like they were just saying
Yeah.
hi.
Right.
Like so, but we do see
Anyway.
the Chippendale show. It's very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
But Demi loves it. She's like, "Oh, Chippendales, I've heard about this my whole life, and I finally get to see it. This is great." And
Mm-hmm.
then she goes on stage, and that was fun. And Layla goes on stage. It's her birthday. And it was
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yeah, it was. It was cool. They had a good time.
Mhm. But then while that's happening, Jen and Taylor and Michaela are home, and they're like, "Fuck this trip. I want to be with my kids, and that's it. I hate everybody." And I'm like, "Why do you hate
Mm.
everybody? What did everyone else do other than your spouses?"
Yeah, I think she's just like she's probably just mad that it started this whole fight.
Yeah. But again, while that's happening, Zach is gambling. And
Not even interacting with the cameras. They're just like, yep, here's
no,
Zach. He's by himself at a table, just playing a game. I don't know what game it was, but I'm like, oh wow.
was he wearing his jacket?
I can't remember. Do
It
you?
looked like he was wearing a jacket, but I couldn't remember if it looked like the one he showed Jen.
It's like, babe, this is my gambling jacket. Yeah, I zip it up
Look
so
at
they
it.
can't see my
It
neck.
cools up your neck. It's like, okay.
All right.
But while Zach is gambling, Dakota's on the phone with Brett, Demi's husband, and he's like freaking out. He's like, all I can picture is just like someone's dancing on my pregnant girlfriend, Taylor, and I just like I don't want to lose it all. And Brett's like, that's not happening.
I was like, Brett is so calm. He's the voice of reason. Dakota is just jumping to conclusions. Like,
He is.
oh, Dakota.
I'm like, also,
Why
why
is
would
just an
Taylor want
anxious
to go on
mess?
stage?
Right. I don't think Chippendales could even pick her. They probably have like a policy. Like, hey,
Probably.
don't pick a woman who looks like she's about to burst.
Right, but Brett kind of talks him down, kind of. To me, it felt like he
Hmm.
was more like, "No, good, no, guy, it's good, it's okay." And Dakota was
Yeah.
like, "That was a great talk, thanks, man. You're always there for me." And it's
No,
like,
he's just
okay,
it's more about him just because he goes on and he's like, I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose. She's pregnant with my baby. And he's really emphasizing that it's his kid and he just wants to be with her. And it's like, you're just upset because you can't control her.
right,
Go be with someone you can control if that's what you really want.
right. He's a confusing one.
I agree.
But the girls return from Chippendales, and they're all like, "Wow, this is
I
amazing!
was like,
Yes,
oh my
woo, woo!"
gosh.
And then it just shows Taylor looking confused, Jen sobbing, just like
Yeah, Jen is
in the
sad.
kitchen. And
Hmm.
basically, Jen tells them what Zach has been saying. And Demi's like, that is weird and gross that he's threatening the marriage over this. And it's like you had his two kids, you've supported him in medical school, you've done all of this, and for him to just want to throw it away over this is gross. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
period.
Clock it. Tell her. Tell her.
Tell her and tell her again. She won't listen, but
Mm-hmm.
tell
Make
her.
sure she remembers.
But then it cuts to me being like, I don't know how to say this nicely, but if I was in y'all's relationships, I would jump off a cliff. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's
I was like, Demi.
to me.
Okay, y'all need to learn how to deliver bad news. Deliver like things that people don't want to hear because that's not we know it's bad, girl. Just chill out a little bit. Like
Right.
that's not gonna make her feel better because that's the situation she's in.
That part.
Like to say you're gonna jump off a cliff is not helpful.
Not
And
helpful
then
at all.
Taylor's like, yeah, I'm miserable.
She is. Taylor's like,
Taylor doesn't mind the cliff statement. Jen does. Taylor's like, I do want to jump off a cliff, actually.
she's like, now that you mention it, I'm miserable, but not just in my relationship, in life. I'm like, oh, Taylor.
Because I think Demi goes, are you done being miserable? And Taylor's like, yes.
Yes, I
Yes, I
am.
am.
I think I am, actually. But I think what is it? Taylor tells us though she doesn't like kind of a reason she doesn't want to get married is she doesn't want to be in the level of like a controlling relationship as Jen and Zach.
Hmm.
So you should just leave Dakota, but whatever.
Right.
It's the next morning, and we learn that Jen left at 2 a.m.
Hmm.
And apparently Zach was saying stuff like, "Oh, you better leave right now if you want to talk," and that's why
Hmm.
she left. But she calls Zach the biggest narcissist and said that Jen let her read her text thread and that he was saying stuff like, "I don't love you anymore and I'm done with you." And he
Hmm.
threatened to take the kids and move in with his mom, which that's wild.
I'll
Like,
take the kids
what?
and go to my mom's house.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna
you can't
go.
come there.
I'm like,
You
what? So
can't
your
go.
mom
You're
can raise the kids
no
because
girls
clearly you
allowed there.
can't. Jesus,
Right.
you don't even want to take care of your kids now with your wife. Like, what are you gonna do with your
Yeah,
mom?
that's why he's bringing them to his mom's house so she could do it.
It's like, go hang with
No.
grandma.
Again, it's very extreme. It's like, do you guys not know how to communicate? Like, this is so unhealthy that you were first, you didn't leave gambling. You're like, what I'm doing is fine. I'm gonna stay here. It's like, if you're really that pressed about your relationship, go find your wife or meet her somewhere, do something. But to text her all of this stuff is very immature. And then they're texting all this stuff until like 2 a.m. and he's threatening her. Like, y'all need to grow up. This is crazy. Nothing can be resolved via text message. Table the conversation for later if you're not about to have it right now. But that's insane.
Right.
Also, why would you write all that down? You're dumb. Stupid.
Right. But also, like, I feel like we forget they are young. They're only
Yeah.
like 24.
Yeah. They're making
But
they
it's
they have
crazy because
adult.
they have like families because of the
Hmm.
religion, but it's like they're so young.
They are. I feel like for 24, it is still very immature
Oh,
behavior.
yeah.
But yes, you're right. Well, I think the problem is that well, they talk about it later, but the issue is that they got married so young. So
Mm-hmm.
I bet they've been in this habit of this toxic cycle of just doing these things since
Yeah.
they got together.
Mm-hmm.
Is
But
Jen one of the people who got married because they were being intimate? Probably.
that's a good question.
I'm gonna try to look it up.
I know Taylor was. Was Layla also?
I remember another girl being like, we were having oh, Layla definitely said that they were having sex. And that's
Maybe
why she got
also, yeah, I don't know. I think so. I wouldn't be surprised. But apparently, in this text where he was saying how he like hates Jen and all that, he was also trashing the other girls and their couples. He was like, Jesse cheated on her first husband. Macy walks all over Jacob. Demi's divorced and married to a 50-year-old. And like Demi laughs at that one, and he's like, he's such a baby bitch, and it's like for real, like that's two. And this brings me back to now that it didn't bring me back initially, but now I'm thinking about it, and it's bringing me back. Jimmy on Love Is Blind, comparing yourself to other people's relationships and all this. You know you're in a toxic or a terrible one if you're constantly comparing yourself to others.
that part. But I was like, oh, not Zach spilling some tea. Can
He
we
is.
can we can we go over this?
He's like, Jesse cheated on her first husband. And she's like, he knows that's not true. So why would he say that?
I was like, Jesse, I didn't know you were married twice. He said a couple things and I was like, oh my gosh.
Right? He was
Sorry. Go ahead.
being sassy.
He was. I was like, okay, Zach.
Uh,
I found the details on Jen and Zach.
oh, how did they start?
Okay, here we go. So Jen met Zach on the Mormon dating app Mutual in 2018 when she was 18 and he was 21. They got engaged 6 months later. So is she 24 now, Brandon?
I think she is,
I'm gonna look that up next.
which makes
Um,
sense.
they got married in
Or maybe 23.
2019.
I don't know. Mm.
And then they have two kids. Um, and then let me find her age. Because if he's 3 years older than her,
Oh, so he's like 27 then, or maybe 26. I don't know,
yeah.
2018. Because when did they film this? 2023? If that's the
She's
case.
25, Brandon. So
Oh,
he's
she's
20.
25.
He's 20. He's almost 30 years old, acting like a
Okay, I take
big
it
ass
back.
kid.
I was thinking
Mom,
they
can
were
I have
both like the same age, like 24. I was like, still not great, but at least they're young.
No. Well,
He's
she's
almost
25
30.
now. She might have been 24 when they filmed, and maybe he was 27, but that's crazy. He's like,
Yeah.
Mom, can I have money to go to the arcade? Basically. And she's just funding it. That's crazy.
uh,
But yeah, that makes sense. She was 18 when she got married. So her talking about trying to develop her own voice and stuff, it makes sense.
hmm
But Zach is something else.
He is. And all the girls basically say that he like sucks the life out of her and like takes her life, which
Hmm.
I can kind of see because there's a lot of moments where she seems like she'd be fun and like cool. And then like when it comes to Zach, it's like she like falls back.
Yeah, she like crumbles because when like just seeing her behave that way at the Chippendales backstage, it was like, "Oh my gosh, like you can't look at a person.
Mm.
They're wearing jeans and they have their shirts off. Come
Right. And
on."
they're being
Like,
perfectly respectful. Like there was the
yeah.
oil thing, but they weren't even giving it to you. They were giving it to Layla, who was the single
Right.
one.
Right.
Mm.
So, it's not that deep.
But Dakota calls Taylor
Hmm.
and he's at a go-kart place by himself because Zach randomly left. And he's like, yeah, Zach was gambling until 1:30 a.m. And they were like, really? And he's like, oh shit, was I not supposed to say that?
Of course you weren't, dumbass. Oh, Dakota. Dakota can't hold water.
And this is where Demido says that Zach's parents gave him a chunk of money to like help through med school, and he apparently blew right through it gambling.
Brandon, that's
That's I could
insane.
never like gambling.
He's addicted. He's an addict.
He is like
That's
it'd be one thing to
insane.
buy like clothes
Hmm.
and like stuff. At least you purchase something, but just gambling?
And he gambles with like thousands at a time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're something else, and you're tripping over her just going somewhere. But like, and it's actually weird to me. He probably like has strong armed her into making it okay, because he's like, oh yeah, can I have X amount? And she's like, sure. Like it's normal for him to do that, and like hearing his behavior, that's not okay. To just
No.
waste thousands. You don't have a job. Obviously you can't win that much because fuck.
You're clearly
Like,
not that good at gambling.
yeah.
Maybe it's time to
That's
wrap it up.
right. That's
Ugh,
crazy.
mm-mm. But Taylor's continuing to talk to Dakota, and she mentions that they met the dancers, and he's like, "You met the dancers? Oh, you know you met the dancers." And she's like, "Yeah, I just didn't tell you. I'm telling you now." He's like, "You didn't tell me last night." And she's like, "There was an opportunity, so I'm telling you now. So what's the issue?" He's like, "Because you could have told me last night." And she's like, "But I'm telling you now. So what's the issue?" It was
Taylor
kind
is
of.
so dismissive of his feelings.
She's done. She's over it.
She
And
is like, what are you screaming in my ear for?
right. And she's like, "Why'd you call?" And he's like, "I don't know why I called." And she's like, "Exactly." And then she just hangs up. And then you have
Taylor's not
fucking
with the
Macy.
shit.
She's not. And then Macy's on the side, just like, this is making me think of the confession I got from
Uh,
Sinner Tuesdays or whatever.
Brandon, do you really think that confession shit is real? That can't be real.
I
That
don't know.
cannot be real.
I'm on the fence.
Not it explaining the exact situation that Taylor said that she would be like breaking up with him over. That doesn't mean if we heard about it before, that would be one thing. But the timing, the fact that it's anonymous for some reason, like miss me with all that. That doesn't make
I
sense.
wonder if she found out if they got the confession before the girls' trip. Because the timeline's weird. I think when Macy told us she had had it for a month. So I don't know, but maybe it is
She
fishy.
would have brought it up at the
I don't
girls'
know.
trip had she had it.
Maybe. I mean,
And
she's
staged. Confession is some
this
BS.
is fake.
Macy wrote it.
She probably did,
Demi
low
wrote
key.
it and sent it in.
Demi's like, oh my gosh, no, I would never do that. But she would, but low key, pop off.
Right.
Um, Jesse's worried about Jen because she won't respond, and she feels responsible because she was the one who took him to the Chippendales as a surprise. And I'm like, hey, like, I get like maybe it wasn't the best call if you knew how, but I guess I don't think she thought they'd react that way.
I think she should have said something, Jesse. You're the more progressive one, but you know how some of these other girls have different values. So you could have been in the Airbnb. Okay, guys, we have a sprinter taking us to Chippendales.
True.
Do you want to go? Because you know that they're Mormon wives, but production was probably like, yeah, let's just take you guys and see what
It's
happens.
a surprise. Loki, it probably could have been a surprise to Jessie too, and she had to pretend. They were like, this will be a surprise, but pretend it's your
Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
Mm. But then they're all talking, and Whitney comes up, and Macy's like, I've never seen her be this impulsive. She does say the trip, though, has been more peaceful without her. Because I think she said about Whitney, it's like, I've seen her like get angry and stuff, but like, she's never been like this impulsive where she'll like do things like unfollowing.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
blocking. Yeah.
but then Michaela on the flip side's like, nah, she's always been this impulsive. She's just more angry right now. And I'm like, okay, Michaela, thank you for the input.
Michaela is quiet but deadly. Like when she speaks, it's like typically facts. She's been
Hmm.
saying stuff kind of under her breath for a while now.
She's like the girl from Pitch Perfect who just like
Yeah.
whispers.
I killed 18 men. Like, girl, what?
Oh,
I ate my sibling in the womb. Like, what?
this is an a cappella audition. Um, Demi doesn't think Whitney's capable of true friendship. And this is where it cuts to Whitney and Connor. And Connor's like, oh my God, babe, you would never believe what I heard about the Vegas trip. He was
Hmm.
apparently talking to Jordan, Jesse's husband. And while he's telling her though, he basically just tells her everything that like happened, like the Zach and Jen situation and how they went to Chippendales and all that. And why is Whitney always doing like a craft? Like she's always like either baking or
Or
like she was like
crafting.
raw dogging nails in a chair. I'm like, where's the hammer? Like, what are you doing?
Wait, what? She was putting a chair together. I
Yeah.
forgot. She was like building
And she was just
something.
like pushing the nail in. I did not. And then the little kid had the hammer, I thought, or something. It was wild. I was like, wait, what are y'all doing?
What are you doing? Maybe it was an IKEA kit. Sometimes you
It
don't
could
need
have
a whole
been.
lot.
Um, Connor asks Whitney, though, if she thinks Zach is being serious. And Whitney at first goes, I don't know and I don't care. It's not my marriage. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay. And then she goes, but I can see where he's coming from because Jen has been a good friend. So I'm like,
He's like,
bitch, really?
and Zach's just like, okay.
He's
And
just
then
like,
she
oh, I didn't think
continues to
you'd say
go.
this.
Yeah. He's like, this was the part where we're supposed to talk about like what we think about what's happening.
But
But Whitney
instead,
is not.
Whitney's like, my only friend on Mom Talk right now is Macy. And I just can't relate to them and I don't want to be around them. And Connor's just like, it takes a lot of confidence and courage to do what you do. And like, it takes a lot of something. I don't know if it's those two things.
Right.
But it's so fucked up for Whitney. Like, okay, like I get if you're like mad at Jen, but to be like, oh, I understand what Zach's saying about like calling her a bad mom and not wanting to be with her just because of that. Like, like, what are you
Mm-mm.
saying?
It's very extreme. You're crazy. And then she kind of went on a rant about how nobody has called her and nobody in this. And I was like, oh, so you don't actually care about what's going on. You just care about yourself. Zach is
Right.
asking you, well, what's her husband's name?
Connor.
Connor is asking you, what do you think about these things? And she's like, nothing, because none of it's about me. Let's talk about my
Let's
feelings.
talk about how
Like,
maybe I had a little FOMO, but after hearing all this, I don't. And it's like,
yeah.
no, clearly you have the most
She's
FOMO.
like, none of them are my friends, and I never get any support of them. Nobody called me still. And it's like, girl, why
Shut
does
up.
what does a phone call truly mean to you?
You were on a
Uh,
homestead. There was no service. They couldn't
the
call
cows,
you.
because of the cows, they can't have cell phone reception there.
Right. Like, don't do this, Whitney. Um, it cuts back to the girls. They play pickleball. That was boring.
Hmm.
But then Jen is still missing. And they're like, where the fuck is she? And then finally, though, Jen texted me and she's like, we were up all night, had hard conversations. And Demi just responds saying, like, you know what? I'm glad you're okay. And it's basically like, tell me everything y'all said. Like, what happened?
Hey, I'm so glad to hear from you. But what happened? Spill the tea.
You know, Jesse's on the side, like, what was that? What was that?
Yeah.
What was it? But this is where Jesse says that Zach is the type of person that rubs her the wrong way in the church. And he likes to say he's protective, but really it's controlling. I think that's
Hmm.
what Jen says about it. Like, oh, he's just protective, but it's really
Hmm.
just like very controlling. Because what
Mm-mm.
is he protecting you from by sending you rage texts because you went to a Chippendale show?
Right. Like you can be protective, like, okay, hey, look, I'm not comfortable, I'm gonna go with you. Or I'm not comfortable, like, can we have a conversation? But like protective to be protective and controlling is not the same thing, and they shouldn't be confused with each other. Because the
Hmm.
girls before I don't know if it was before or after they spoke to her, but they were like, she better not be like, this is fine, it's okay, everything's better, because it's not okay. We saw what happened. Like, this is not okay. She can't just brush this over. Like she needs to get a divorce, basically, is what all the girls have decided.
Yeah. And I mean, they're not wrong,
No, they're not.
but we'll see if she's receptive. Spoiler
Hmm.
alert. No. But Dakota randomly arrives
Oh my
and
gosh, this pissed me off.
they're like, she's sleeping. And he's like, he decides to run upstairs.
He's like, I just need to talk to her. And it's like, she's sleeping, dude. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Mm. I think Macy's like, don't start anything.
She did.
Um,
Brandon,
yes.
homegirl is, she said 17 weeks or 17 days she's gonna give birth. So she's about 2 weeks away from her due date.
Yeah.
So she's 37, maybe 36 and a half weeks pregnant. Would you wake a woman who is that pregnant?
No, but he doesn't care. He yells at her.
It's so annoying to me.
Like
Like,
that
Dakota
thought
has,
doesn't cross his mind. He's not
it
like, let me
doesn't.
let me take care of this pregnant woman or let her rest or anything. That's not a factor for
He's like,
him.
I just need to talk to her real quick. She's sleeping. What the fuck is wrong? That pissed me off. I was like, okay, so Dakota has no respect for you. He has no respect for the fact that you're pregnant, that you have needs, that you might need to sleep when he wants to have a discussion. And then he gets in bed and she's like half awake. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Word to the wise, don't wake a pregnant woman for whatever you can. Like, her body
Yeah.
is going through so much. She's probably exhausted. Like, the fact that he woke her up really pissed me off.
It was stupid. I don't
It
know why.
was.
And the way he did it, he was just like, gotta go. And then he like bursts
Yeah,
up the stairs. He looks like a dumb cartoon character.
he does. He didn't
Uh,
hesitate. They're like, she's sleeping. He's like, oh, yeah, prime time to talk.
gotcha. Whoa. He like
She's
juked them
alone.
out.
No, he did. And ran up the stairs.
Um, I will say though, when they do talk, he starts by kind of like owning it, being like, "Oh, I overreacted," you know. And while they're talking, Macy and Michaela are like eavesdropping and having all these side conversations, and that was kind of funny.
Hmm.
But he's like, we have a lot of issues, and I'm sorry. She starts bawling, like her Taylor ball. And I'm
She
like, oh,
was
girl.
sobbing. I was like, oh.
Hmm.
I was like, you're sobbing because you're tired? Because
Right.
he woke you up.
And this is where she says, she's like, we're 17 days away from having the baby, and we're so bad.
Hmm.
And it's like, you are. And she just
Hmm.
has trust issues with everyone. And this is where he tries to flip it. And he's like, I feel like when we first started dating, you presented a different person. And then I'm just like getting somebody else right now. And she's like, no, bitch. What changed was you lied. And now I don't trust you.
Hmm.
Mm.
But he can't hear that. She's been saying that. We've heard her say this to him now twice, maybe three times. And the message is just not being like he's just like, no, that's not it. He's not
Yeah.
retaining any information. And what also pisses me off is that, like, in a relationship, you can't expect somebody to just be the same all the time. Especially right now. She's pregnant, dumbass. What do you
Right.
want?
What do
Like,
you want from her?
this is like the third time we hear Dakota complaining about how Taylor is treating him. And I'm like, you should have no expectations for how she treats you. She's pregnant. I'm not saying that she could be a bitch and, like, hurt you or whatever, but like for her to maybe be a little more like, no, I don't want to do this, or no, I don't want to talk about that. No, I'm not ready for that. And for you
Yeah.
to just consistently push her boundaries is very annoying. Like, he will not take no for an answer. It's having the same argument over and over and over again. Like, it's annoying to watch. I can't imagine living it.
It's not registering for him for
Nope.
some reason. It's like in one ear. I don't think it even goes in an ear,
Mm-mm.
like to go out the other. I think it's
No.
just like there's like a guard, a dumbass man repellent, and he put the force field over his ear. So whenever she speaks logic or any statement that makes sense, it goes, "Pachoo!" And then it
No,
just
for
like
real.
goes off, and he doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it.
No, because he's like, that's not what I wanted you to say. So
He's
we'll
like,
talk about
no,
this
I
again
agree with
later.
what I just said. Because when she goes, he says it, she's like, I disagree. And he's like, well, no, I agree. And it's like, no, bitch, you said it. Like, yeah, of course you agree. What do you mean you agree with your own statement? You said it. Shut up. Like, what are you saying right now?
Oh, Dakota.
I hate him.
Mm-mm.
Um, but while they're talking, Macy's talking about how she's even more worried about the message she received.
Oh yeah, because
And
they're listening outside the door, which I thought was kind of tacky. Like, guys, come on.
I mean, they could have moved a little further from the door at
They were like,
least.
"Oh, I
They
don't
were
want
like
to breathe."
right
They were
there.
all whispering, "I don't want to breathe so I can hear what they're saying." It's like,
Yeah.
she'll tell you later. Taylor's an open
Right.
book. Like, chill
She
out.
is. She'll tell you probably even more than you want to know.
Right.
Um, but Taylor doesn't know how two broken people can help each other, and she's just very fed up and wants him to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, girl, us all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Michaela says that they need to tell her tonight because they leave tomorrow. So the producer said,
We
tell
have
her
to do
before the trip is over.
today. That's what it made me think. Like, you guys need to do this now.
Uh,
Uh,
but the girls go out to eat. And Taylor tells the girls about her convo with Dakota, but she's curious about Jen and Zach and what they've been doing all day. And Taylor doesn't like that Zach is so judgy when he went out gambling, and that's all frowned upon in the religion. It's confusing and hypocritical.
mm-hmm.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's where the misogyny comes into play.
Right.
But Demi calls Jen. She's like, let me call this girl. And Jen ends up picking up. And she just got back to the house and she was going to get ready and join them wherever they were. And Demi's like, how do things go? And she's like, oh, things are great with me and Zach. Like, we're better than ever. It was so needed, the conversation. And it was just like, we are so much better than we were before. And Macy's
Mm-hmm.
like, does she have a gun to her head? Why is she talking like this?
What is she saying?
Oh,
Hmm.
and this is where Jessie tells us that her ex-husband was just like this, and she doesn't want to see Zach at the house and compares him to Ted
Mhm.
Bundy. I'm like, Loki.
Who's Ted Bundy, Brandon?
It's like a serial killer.
Oh,
I think
wow.
he's the one that was like charming and like, yeah. I think like presented as like sweet and then like
Mm.
wasn't. I think he was
Oh.
did you ever I think there was the movie Netflix with Zac Efron. I think he played him.
Oh, really? No,
I
I
tried
haven't
watching
seen
it. It was
it.
kind of boring.
Oh.
I was like, what is this?
Oh gosh.
Um, but Demi says they're going bar hopping, but Taylor can't go because she's on probation. So
Mm-hmm.
Macy and Michaela are like, we'll stay with you. No reason other than we want to hang with you. But they go to sit down at some other restaurant and Taylor can tell their faces are off. And
She's
Macy's like,
like, what do you got? What's wrong with you guys? Why are you looking at me like that?
they're just like what?
Like,
What do you mean?
we didn't hear your whole conversation at the door.
Not at
Uh,
all.
we're just you're just so pregnant. Like, girl,
Look at you, you're
what?
so pregnant. But Macy does say, I need to tell you something. And she finally tells her about the confession.
Mm-hmm.
And Taylor, she's in shock. She says she would like to think it's not true, but believes it could be true. And that if it
Mm-hmm.
is true, she'll leave him in a heartbeat. And she doesn't care that she's having his baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, we
Because
will.
it probably is true. Even if this is a fake confession, I'm sure he did do this.
Yeah, when I heard them, I was like, she probably should like try to set him up some way because Dakota's not very forthcoming. So she could be like, the girl messaged me. I already know what happened. You might as well just tell me. Like, find a way to pull it out of him
She
so that
should
he
do it
ends up
like that.
confesses. He ends up confessing.
Yeah, that is the smart way to do it.
I have the information. No, she messaged
Right.
this. I have a message from her.
She's saying it. Why would she lie to me?
Hmm.
Mm.
So you tell me what happened.
Why don't you tell me, Dakota? But first, take your ball cap off.
Right.
I'm convinced you have some like hearing device so people can tell you what to say to me.
Are you wearing a
um,
wire?
are you wearing a wire? Are you strapped? Jen joins the other girls and she tells them a hard night with
Which is,
Zach.
I thought that was weird, Brandon. Why would Jen go to a bar? I thought that was frowned upon.
I mean, I guess it was okay because they left right after to join Michaela and them.
Okay, because I was like, they were all together. That makes more sense. I was like, I thought I saw Taylor.
Yeah, I guess. Unless maybe Jen can go to bars. Maybe bars are okay. It's just,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'd be
yeah.
interested to know. Jen, come on the pod. We want to ask you some questions.
Right. Sorry, continue.
What was it? She said Zach apologized. Woo woo woo. All the same shit we've been hearing. And
Mm-hmm.
but she wants to let the girls know that they figured out things for the most part. And to me, it's like, I'm shocked Zach let you out of his sight tonight. And like, she's just basically saying she doesn't know what version of Jen they're gonna get because she's always like being so cautious and like putting on a front.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh no, wait. So she told that to Demi in the bar, and then they joined Taylor and the others.
Okay.
That's what happened. It was confusing because they were only there for like a second. I was like, what was
I
the
didn't
point?
even see them. I
I was
didn't
like,
know they were at two locations.
I was like, what was the point of them even going there? Because literally right after she just tells Demi that, they leave. And I'm like, why didn't they just like
That
meet where
makes
they were?
sense. That makes sense. Because I remember I was like, why is Jen at a bar? But then Taylor was there. So I was like, so they couldn't have been at a bar anymore.
Yeah, it
They
was
just
like
transitioned very fast.
it was like boring, like unnecessary transition.
Hmm.
But they joined Taylor and the others, and Jen says they argued, and she does say he has narcissistic traits, and they come out every
Girl,
few months.
girl, what?
I'm like, that's don't try to paint it as if that's not consistent.
Every couple weeks, he's a little volatile. Sometimes he throws things, sometimes he yells, he'll threaten me, and then the next day we're typically okay.
This reminds me.
He takes the kids to his mom's.
He leaves for a couple weeks, but then he's back for a couple more.
Yeah.
Real Housewives of Orange County, there was this lady, Shannon Bedore, and she was like in this like toxic relationship with John Jansen, and they would always like break up and get into fights, but she wouldn't tell the other housewives on camera, and they would bring it up on camera like, bitch, you're trying to paint it out like you're perfect, but literally like you call us complaining drunk all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And Shannon storms out of this party. It's like a costume party. She goes to wherever the production tent is and is like yelling to the producers, I do not fight with John Jansen. Do we sometimes have fights that leave me paralyzed? Yes,
Girl,
but we
what?
are good. And we're just like, what?
Paralyzed?
Paralyzed, girl, that's not sounding as good as you think. Like, what do you mean?
She get beat up? The fuck? He
Are
drugged you? What happened?
like she's just like, you're so distraught, like you can't move. Like, girl, like that's not helping your case.
That's not normal, sis.
No. They're not together anymore. And then he sued her for $75,000 for a loan and a facelift. And his new fiance is now a part of the show.
Did
Um,
he win? Did she win?
they settled.
Oh, okay.
So it ended up
Wow.
kind of working out, but it was a mess. He's awful.
That sounds
Um,
terrible.
but anyways,
Does it
uh,
leave me paralyzed?
yes.
Crazy.
She tried to defend her marriage and she's like, look, the good outweighs the bad, y'all. And I'm like, I'm not hearing a lot about the good. What's the
What's
good?
the good? He helps you with the kids? No. He has a job? No. He has an
uh,
addiction that he's working through? No. What are the good things, girl? Ain't no good here.
I would like a pros and cons list.
They call her out on everything she says. Poor Jack. I feel really bad for her here.
I do too. They give her some tough love.
They do.
And like, she said she hasn't met someone that loves her as much as him. And Demi's like, yeah, bitch, because you got married at 20. Like, what do you mean?
She's like, this is the only guy you've ever dated.
Right. And Demi tells us, she's like, look, everyone getting married before their brains are fully developed. I don't want Jen to feel trapped because she has kids.
Hmm.
And Jesse goes in, she's like, we're all disgusted by Zach. And like, I can't believe it was.
Now we're all disgusted by him. Oh my gosh.
She did not hold back. And
No.
she's like, cause her thing is, oh no, she brings that up later. But, Jen's like, it's hard to hear them bash Zach. But it's also even more difficult hearing them validate emotions I've had. And I'm like, girl, you are answering your own
Your cool
question.
questions. All the lights are on.
But nobody's home.
What is it? Like reason is chasing you and you're just running from it. The logic is chasing you.
And she's MJ from Big Brother.
Oh my God. I know that this girl has my back. And even though I'm gonna lose $750,000, I'm taking her to the end with me. Like, girl, what? You
Get
know
it
the
together,
answer.
please.
Please.
Um, but she tells them she agrees, and this is where she talks about how when she started providing, she realized she had a voice and she needed to speak up, and he hasn't seen the side of her and feels like he doesn't have control. And Jesse hits her with the hard, is this what you want your daughter to think is acceptable? Like, because it's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. And Demi's like, yes, narcissists hardly ever change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's just facts. And people learn, look, on all these shows, people learn the hard way. Like,
Yep.
to bring it back to the place of the Valley and Vanderpump Rules, Brittany, Jax was awful to her from the start. From the moment
Mm-hmm.
before, as she was moving from Kentucky to LA to live with him, he was flirting with Lala and then lied to her about it, despite the fact that it was being filmed. And then, like, a year or two later, cheated on Brittany with another past cast member and then was just awful to her and all these things. But Brittany stuck by him and said, oh, I hope he changes. At one point, he almost changed, but didn't. Like, it was like, and then, like, all these years later, it's just gotten so much worse. And now she's filing for divorce and they have a
Mm-hmm.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
So you
No,
just
it's
gotta,
like,
like,
girl, when he shows you who he is, believe him. Not to say that people can't be redeemed, but we need to see somebody like, I feel like if there is a situation where someone is actually saying, like, okay, I see the error of my ways, I want to do better, then you need to take some action steps all by yourself. You need to be telling me you're going to therapy. I need to see the appointment. I might need to go with you. You know what I mean? I don't think
yeah,
men are like, I don't think like these situations are past helping, but it's like, let's follow it up. Had she, and I don't think any of that's happening because she would have told us. But like, he needs some serious help. Also, he has an addiction, girl. He's wasting all your money. Does Luca have a college fund? Then he
probably
shouldn't be
not.
gambling. And it's like, you're gonna be a doctor and you gamble. You ain't got time to
Right.
gamble.
You're
You're just
gonna be
gonna make
making a
more
lot of money at
money.
one point. Don't gamble all that.
Right. Like I feel like it's oh, so like your pot's just gonna get bigger, you're just gonna gamble more. So it's like Zach needs some serious help. And then like the fact that she said he has narcissistic tendencies that tend to come up every couple weeks, girl, what? So you know he's narcissistic. Hmm.
It's just, she
It's
has all
sad.
the answers, but she just can't bring herself to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesse's like, I don't want to be in the same room with him after what he said about their relationships. And then this is where we kind of learned a couple extra things that apparently he said Macy flirts with Jesse's husband
Hmm.
and that he made fun of Layla for being single. I was like, how dare you make fun of
Oh,
Layla?
that's fucked up. Damn,
Bitch.
Zach was on one, man.
He was. And this is where Demi says, she's like, look, Jen notices the patterns, but she won't add it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jen breaks down crying. And Demi says, this is exactly what Mom Talk is trying to change. We want to provide support that a lot of women don't have. And I'm like, I appreciate that. And
Me too.
to which I ask you, do you feel as though this scene was genuine?
No.
Oh,
If you guys, well, maybe it was coming from a genuine place, but I feel like for Demi and Jesse, two people who've been in similar situations, I feel like they could have handled it with a lot more care. Seven people ganging up on one person and telling her how terrible her marriage is and how her kids are not going to respect her and how she's with a narcissist and how it's not going to get better. It's like, yes, that's all true. But like, if you really wanted to have a conversation with Jen that would be impactful, I feel like you could have it in private. You could pull her aside. You could lay out the facts. You could talk, you know what I mean? This is kind of like, I kind of feel like they ganged up on her a little bit. Like, they're trying to give her good information, but I feel like if
hmm.
they really cared about her, they wouldn't have done it on camera. Because like
I
with
guess.
abusive
Yeah.
relationships, like it already takes somebody so long to leave. And
Hmm.
it's like this is a hard conversation to have on camera in front of the public light. And it's almost embarrassing, you know? Like I just feel like they could have handled it better. Their advice is solid. Everything they're saying is facts. But if you really want her to leave, I feel like you would have handled the conversation with a little more care. Because you only have so much time to like try to convince somebody to leave an abusive relationship, right? Half the time
Yeah.
they end up going back anyway. So it's like I feel like they should have handled it with more care. But the things that they said were valid.
Yeah. I could see that. Do you think they're all genuine friends?
No.
Oh.
Do you?
I don't not. I
Who
don't.
who who are friends? Well, what do you think about the conversation? Did you think it was genuine?
I thought it was too very real
Mm-hmm.
and like genuine. I think like I
No.
mean
Hmm. I
like
get what
I
you're
see what
saying.
you mean about like how they say it and it's kind of like if you care, be a little more delicate. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think Demi and Jesse are delicate people.
Yeah.
So it kind of is on brand for them.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that.
And the
Maybe it's not genuine. I just don't think it's helpful.
I
It
mean
was a
at this
genuine
I mean
conversation. It wasn't
we know they're
helpful.
all still together, so like
Yeah.
it wasn't helpful.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
I agree. They're not two people who really hold things. And maybe they do actually. Because Brandon, not much longer or not long ago was it who? Demi on the phone saying like, "Oh yeah, glad you're okay." But what happened? Like you just want to know the tea. Like you just want to know
yeah.
the drama.
Yeah. I wonder if that's just like a I don't know. They're like it's weird. They're like I don't know because I feel like I would never be able to like get in a fight like that with a spouse and then like laugh with my friends and like continue like filming and like telling them what happened.
Oh yeah,
I
I
would
would.
be just I would be Shayna Bedore paralyzed. I would be
Right.
distraught.
I would probably say like, "Hey guys, I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it later. I just want to enjoy the rest of the trip
Or
or
yeah,
something."
or I'm not giving you
Oh.
this like manicured sit down. Like I'm off the rails. Like I'm on the
Mm-hmm.
phone. Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'm
it
going home.
yeah,
Like,
like this
yeah.
isn't gonna be like, and now we'll sit here and I will tell you all. No.
Yeah.
So that's the part.
Because
I don't know.
yeah, because Jen was probably really embarrassed. Like the fact that she came back is kind of crazy to me. And the fact that she let those girls read her text messages is crazier because you know they're gonna repeat everything they
Well,
saw.
that part too. It's like you're showing like you're and well, that's the part where I'm kind of like I think she does want them to know. She wants
Hmm.
them to say these things because she says consistently they're validating her feelings. I think
Yeah.
it's tough because of the truth they're saying, and
Yeah.
she's reaching a point where now it's being said on such a public platform, you almost can't turn back.
Hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. So she's on the edge of which way will she go? Will she go
Right.
as far back as trying to like help aid his image?
Right.
Or will she actually leave
It's
him?
like, well, the question we need to be asking is, how will Jen's relationship survive this?
Right. Fuck mom talk. It's Jen's relationship. The
It's Jen's
Afflecks.
relationship. Yeah.
Uh
And we know like that like even the thing I looked when I was looking her up earlier, it was saying something to the effect of like seeing their relationship on TV made them like want to work on things and stuff. And so that's kind of what they're just telling the public. But
yeah.
Jen, I hope that you can find peace. But yeah, so you think they're genuine friends?
I mean,
Who? Not everybody.
I think they're friends. Now, are they like the deepest friends? I think they all want the best for each other. I don't know, because I was hearing some podcasts, I will not name them because I'm not plugging them on our small platform, but
Mhm.
they already have enough listens. But one of them was just coming from a very spiteful place of just like, I just think everything is fake and like not genuine and da 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 da. And I have a feeling it's because they're from the Real Housewives of Orange County and this show is way more successful. And
Oh,
like,
so they're
I think there's like a jealousy because she was also this way about
well.
Ariana.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Well, I was
like,
gonna say like, but that's we were kind of saying that it does kind of feel staged sometimes. And
it
Ariana, when
does.
she was first on Vanderpump, did give like she's trying to figure out how to be on the show. Like there wasn't, we didn't really get to see anything genuine. I mean, you are on a TV show. You kind of do have to put on and find things to talk about and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that make
Well, with Ariana, she didn't want to be on the show. She was like, they had to be like, be on this show. And she was like,
please.
okay.
I just remember the first few conversations of her talking to Sheena. It just felt like really like weird,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
It took
when
her a
she
minute
first
to get
started.
like comfortable and
Yeah,
like,
maybe that's what it was. It's just she was uncomfortable.
and that
But
could be
these
the case
girls,
with these girls too in some instances. Like sometimes
yes.
when you're uncomfortable on camera, it just comes across weird.
Hmm.
And you don't really know. And nine times, not 9 times out of 10, maybe like 6 times out of 10, it's just like you're not. Like, because that could be jarring. Like, you're supposed
Yeah.
to live your life and have these conversations, and there's this camera like right in your face.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
So I actually don't want to talk about this anymore. We're
should we
filming.
not?
Fuck.
We're mic'd, they can hear
Yeah.
everything.
They can hear everything. No, I
Um,
feel that. But I do think that this is the first time we've actually seen them like actually talk about something real. And
yeah,
if this is truly what Mom Talk is about, then I'm all for it. Like that makes sense to me.
yeah.
Giving women
Now I
space to
understand mom talk.
Now I understand why Mom Talk should survive this.
Yes. Uh,
Yeah.
But with all of that being said, I think that's it for this episode. Next week's the finale.
Hmm.
Look pretty eventful. Look like Whitney's gonna pop up at some party.
Oh,
And they're
sure
like,
she
why the
will.
fuck are you here?
Of course she
I think
is.
Dakota and Macy like argue.
Mm.
And he's like, you don't want us to work or something. And she's like, you suck or something like that. So
Hmm.
we'll see all that. But it looks like a decent finale.
I didn't watch the preview, so I'll be pleasantly surprised next
Oh
week.
yes. That's the best way to go into these episodes.
Yes.
Um, but y'all, that's it for today's episode. Thank y'all so much for listening. Make
Thanks.
sure to rate and review us. Give us 5 stars on
Please.
Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a
Hmm.
glowing review for us on Apple
Glowing.
Podcasts. We love those.
We really do.
If you would like to see our beautiful faces, instead of just listening, you could subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Shade of It All Podcast.
Yes.
You can follow us on TikTok at the Shade of It All Podcast, Instagram at the Shade of It All Pod, and we will talk to y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.